Welcome to Off Watch, a podcast by the Ocean Race. This week, our guest is Martine Grael. Now, I got the chance to ask you for any specific questions last week that you had for this Brazilian sailing star. Thank you very much for everybody that sent those questions in and helped me form the basis of this interview. Martine can sometimes be a little bit shy in front of the camera. However, she's always pretty honest. And she spoke to me very candidly about what it was like on board Team Axel at the start of the last edition with all the drama that they were facing. Plus, she explained why she doesn't actually like talking about her gold medal winning performance at Rio 2016. My guest this week is Martine Grael, who won gold for Brazil in her home Olympics in Rio 2016. A year later, she competed in the ocean race in the 2017-18 edition, finishing fourth with Team Axel. And she was regularly seen on the helm, unusual for a first-timer. At 29 years of age, her sailing successes speak for themselves, and she has regularly ranked at the very top of the 49er FX Olympic class since it debuted in 2013. Martine, thank you for taking the time to talk to me today. Let me just start off by recognising the fact that, of course, you are that Martine Grael. You are part of the Grael family, and I'm wondering, before you were born, your father, Torben Grael, one of the most famous sailors in the world, wins 2 Olympic medals. As you're growing up, you're part of a family that adds another 3 Olympic medals, 2 of them gold, and your father wins the ocean race with Ericsson 4. Was it always inevitable that you were going to be as competitive as you are in the sport of sailing?
No, I don't think so. I think the environment you grow up actually shapes you more than your blood. Yeah. And I think having an older brother and growing up with a lot of boyfriends, I always, I think I went to that competition mode. But actually only later on, in the beginning, it was pretty much just fun. My competition was in other things like playing soccer or, running around. But as I got on with the opties and, got on with other classes, I started really getting a go for the competition. And I got to a moment where my father actually asked me if I wanted to keep going, because I like to travel around or make friends, or if I really like competition. And for me, that was a very remarkable moment that I really thought for myself that I really loved competition.
And you did well at a pretty young age. I mean, there's an awful lot that we could talk about with your optimists, and I mean, you had a good go in the 29er, things like that. But I guess, I'm wondering, 420, 2009 with what was then the ISAF Youth Worlds. You do pretty well. You come away with a first place. At what point was that something special about going and representing your country, Brazil, on your back? I mean, you were young at that point. You must have been maybe 17, 18, and you're there representing your country. Does your first moment like that feel a little bit special?
Actually, the whole 420 time that I had with my different crews, they were all really good. I really had so much motivation. I was studying, and sailing was not I was not a professional, but I was still sailing 4 days a week, and getting buses to go across the bay in Rio and sail, and I did 2 open worlds and 2 youth worlds, one in the 29er and one in the 420. And that second one in 2009, we won, and it was definitely, I don't know, the cherry on top of the cake of this whole 420 period. And I think what really is remarkable is your training partners and who you sail with, your crew. And it showed me how important it is even more important than having the best boat or the best, is having the best crew. And then the best boat is just the detail, but teaming up with good people makes most of it.
Okay, well, I want to get into that because obviously the ocean race, you're not just teaming up with one person. You're teaming up with an awful lot of people. There's the other sailors, but there's a whole team in the background. But before I ask you about that, let's talk about your crew in the 49er FX, a successful partnership that's still going well now, Kahina Kunz. So when did you guys come together? Because you knew each other for a long time.
Yeah, we had separate teams, and I had a crew, and she had a skipper, and we both of them couldn't do the Youth Worlds in 2009, and that was 2 years before, and we were like, oh yeah, we can do it together if we qualify, because we are the same age, and then 2 years before we decided to do it, and then we just did it, and then after that I asked both my crews if they wanted to keep on with Olympic sailing, but they thought it was a big step to take. Like it's not a lot of funding in Brazil, and it's not like a right pathway to take. So it was a very uncertain path. So they both decided to keep on studying, and I started sailing with Isabel in the 470 class, which was my debut in Olympic sailing. And she had come from a bronze medal at the Beijing Olympics. So for me, it was like, what a invitation, I couldn't refuse that one.
But you guys...
And then, later on, we went back sailing together, me and Kaena. And we're still, today, we're planning training in 2 days' time.
Yeah, so you're talking to me now from Portugal. You're still competing in the 49er FX. And this is something that I find very interesting because just like any friendships, any relationships, any sailing partnerships, for people that have been together for so long, there must be moments where it feels really good, and then there must be moments where it doesn't feel good. For you guys, has it been strong and solid the whole way, or have there been those little times where it's testing?
No, it's any long-term relationship. I think even marriage, you get to know the person so well that when they're frustrated. Sometimes what they're thinking, how the way they think, and it's sometimes is quite annoying, when you get stressed with each other. And what happens a lot with Olympic sailing is that you're only together for the hard part, where you want to push each other, and you start spending most of your off time away. So you're only together for the bad part, while in the beginning you're together for the bad part and the good part. You're doing like trips together, and I think that's a little bit what grows different. But I think the respect is the same.
And paint us a bit of a picture about what it's like being on the 49er FX. For those people that haven't sailed the 49er FX, because when we say two sailors, I mean, you are shoulder to shoulder, wrapped in together. I mean, it's quite a boat to sail.
I was trying to make up with that one, trying to explain to someone what it was. It's kind of like being a ballerina in a circus and doing synchronized swimming, and I don't know, maybe something with strength. I don't know, something mixing in the mix. There's a lot of coordinated movements, and the balance of the boat is quite critical for the steerage. And I think if you have a lot of time together, you can coordinate those movements, and if you don't have a lot of time together, it makes it clear, like the maneuvers. And then the tactics is pretty open, because you can tack a lot, not like catamarans, and but you do have, the boats go quite fast, so you do need to plan ahead quite a bit. And for me, it was very nice coming from 470, because it's more agile, and and things happening the whole time. While sometimes the first 70, I felt like sitting down in slow motion a little bit. But yeah, so I love action and I love, challenges. So I think that's a little bit what drove me to the ocean race.
Yeah, so you had some familiar faces, obviously, and I'm wondering what it's like, because 1 minute you're racing against these people, and you must have had times where Francesca Klapčić or Tamara Chagoya or someone comes in at a leeward mark, and you don't think that you think they broke the rule. You must have some moment where you were, shall we say, not very friendly, but when you were on the shore, is that all forgotten? Are you just friends again?
I think that happens every day, on the water, and I'm very good friends with, at least I think I'm very good friends with everybody on shore, and on the water is totally different. You're competitors, and it's like not the enemy, but it's, you're not gonna spare anybody just because they're your friend. It's in the water is competition, and the rule applies, and you can, but in the Olympic sailing, it happens a lot, like that you have some smaller incidents that they can be eased by one or the other, because you're facing each other so much, you're crossing each other, and sometimes it's better for you to ease at somebody and then get eased later on. The only moment that doesn't happen quite often is in the Olympics. Nobody wants to ease at anybody. It's a different moment. But other than that, in other competitions, I really don't like to go to the protest room. I think it's very nice to be able to get to agreement and, I don't know, try to solve it out of the protest room.
Okay, well, let's go then to the games. As you say, it's a bit of a different moment. I'm wondering for you, I don't even know, it's your home Olympics. Was that the water that you used to sail on? How much like home did it feel?
Totally like home. Rio Olympics, it's it's like my backyard. It's where we sail every day until today. And it was just amazing to do that cycle, because a lot of people were coming to Rio to train. So we got a lot of sailing there with other sailors, and spend some time at home in the cycle. And yeah, I think this was very special. Having our friends there in the Olympics to watch the race and to celebrate with us. It couldn't be any better. They're really good memories, but for me, it's funny that I don't like to look back too much at the Olympics, because that's like, it's past waters, it's I don't know, I really like to focus on what's going on now, and I feel like if I get too attached to the past, it might disturb my present,
Okay, hint taken. We'll move on. So you finish Rio, then the next thing that we see you in a big way is the ocean race with Team Axel. There wasn't an awful lot of time between Rio in the summer of 2016 and then the start of the 2017, the Volvo Ocean races it was then. When did you get to be part of Team Axel? When did you get your first taste of sailing on a VO65?
Actually, it was a bit before with Mafre. I was invited from Chabi to sail with them, but I was very much in doubt because I didn't know anybody in the crew. And when Axel Nobel teamed up, Joca was assigned to be watch captain. And Joca is a good friend of my dad's, and I know him from Rio and also Brad Jackson. So I thought that, starting on something that I didn't know, and it could be a difference to have like somebody that I could, go for and, ask some honest questions, and I don't know, not be afraid of judgment. But as soon as I made that decision, I didn't get quite to try with Axonova because all the legs that we did to training legs, there was no wind. I don't know, it was just something from the destiny, you know, there was no wind. We did motoring the whole way. And yeah, it was a shame. But and then later on, just before the race started, we had a big issue in our team that the skipper got taken out of the team with a lawsuit, and it was quite shocking for us. We didn't understand everything that was happening and what each part had done wrong. We just wanted to settle up and get going because we thought the project would still go on, you know. And it was very confusing when Simon got back. Not confusing, but it was just so late, you know. It was the day of the start, and we were starting the leg without any experience, like big experienced sailors on the boat. We had people who had done the race before, but you know, the most important guys in our boat had left. So it was quite, I was very much in doubt with you know, risking your life. And I don't know, for me, it was a hard moment. And when all the young people stepped on the boat, I got some good advice from Tamara and from Nieti, from Mafre, and they just said, just try, just do the slag and see how it goes. And I think it was very good, the advice. You know, I think I did that for quite half of the race, and then I just just the next slag, just the next one. And then when I was halfway through, I was like, well, I already did half of it. Let's just keep on going.
Because I remember that start, and I remember, like you say, it was, okay, Simeon is going to be skipper. No, he's not. Yes, he is. There's all this sort of changing. And I'm sure there's a whole backstory to what was going on that Simeon will be able to explain, or, you know, will prefer not to, if I get the chance to talk to him.
Sometimes I just rather not to know, you know.
Yeah, no, completely.
We did what we could with what we had, you know.
Well, you did great. I mean, that's the thing, that first leg, and that was what I was going to ask is, like you say, okay, I'll just do this leg and I'll see what happens. When did you go, okay, this is still good? Was because the boat was performing pretty well. You know, you guys were doing really well when you came out of the med. Did it feel good straight away, or did it take you a while to feel like this is still something I want to do?
No, I think on these big boats, you need to have all the maneuvers quite like a rehearsal. I'm not sure the word in English, but they have to be coordinated, you know, and everybody needs to know what they're doing. And I think on our boat, the crew was just so like on the last minute that we didn't quite know how to deal with ourselves, you know, and the maneuvers were not sharp, and leaving Alicante was so hard, you know. It felt so bad that afterwards everything was getting better and better. So we always had that feeling, oh, it's getting better, and so we started doing up and back to Lisbon. Then we started losing a little bit, but you know, that feeling of getting better was quite cool. I think we all got a little bit excited. And yeah, I think that those moments, you know, they make the race with sailors, because, you know, it's that common feeling. You don't need to speak with words, but you can feel it, you know, that everybody is on a proactive mode and enjoying it.
Let me ask you a little bit about that then, that enjoyment and that feeling of, are we getting better? We had some questions getting sent to me when I announced that we were going to be talking together. One of them I thought was very good, very honest, which was, when you get scared on the boat, and I'm sure you must get scared, how do you talk yourself back down into a position in your mind where you are in control and ready to race? How do you control your fear?
I think it's two different things. Control your mind and dealing with fear. I think dealing with fear is dealing with the unknown, and there's a lot of unknown in the race. But I think one very cool thing, it would be quite surprised. I never felt scared. I felt small. Sometimes nature makes you feel very small. And but I had the feeling all the time that the crew would do the best thing. If there was a moment, that happened, the crew would have done what needed to be done. And that's a feeling that you can't, you can't pay for that. It's so incredible. When we were in the Southern Ocean, just on those days where we had big loss, for the whole race, I was thinking about that. It's always on the edge, on the edge, on the edge. And I just had a feeling that if something happened, things needed to be done quick, and there was no going to the water. If you go to the water, I think you're, I don't want to say it, but you can't fall. That's the thing. So you're acting on the boat like if you fall, that's like abyss, it's grip on. Because I think, doing a man overboard in you always practice it in very calm conditions. Of course, you don't want to risk anybody's life, but the reality is not the same. When you're out there, and I don't think there's any chance of recovering a person in the Southern Ocean conditions. It's really, really rough, and you move on. The boat moves so fast. You get away from fixed points really fast. So I think the rule that we set on is nobody falls, and that's it.
Because you had it's interesting to hear you say that you weren't scared, because you obviously, with T-Max and Abel, had a very scary moment on leg 3 when you had that incredible jibe that took your mainsail track and ripped a whole bunch of the track off the mast.
Yeah, but the boat was still there. We were not sinking. We might have taken a long time to get to our destination, if we dropped the rig. But of course, it's like conditions that you don't want to be in. But it's not the end of the world. I think it's not like dropping the keel. When we finished the Southern Ocean, just as we made the corner, one of the flaps that stay below the keel that help from the canting, one of these lips, they fell off, and the water would surge up and, really do a lot of pressure on the keel box. And the lid was like pumping like a heart, and from my bunk, I could see that. And for me, that was I was more concerned, because if that had happened before, it would have been really bad. But then we just had one more day, and everything got a little bit calmer. We were getting close to the coast in Brazil, and we were sad again. But you don't want the boat to get injured.
No, definitely not. So this then brings me on to another question that somebody wanted me to ask you. And it reminds me of, I remember seeing an interview with you when someone was asking you about the ocean race. And you said, and I'm going to paraphrase, but you said that when you finish, you look back and you feel fantastic about it. And, you look back on how much you've learned and how much you've evolved. But when you're doing it, you're thinking, oh my God, I'm going to quit tomorrow. I'm done. This is horrible. When you reach the dock and you've gone through some, what sound to me like very scary things about water coming into the boat potentially, how do you motivate yourself for the next leg? Or does it just happen naturally?
I don't know. Well, I think it happens naturally. I think you get so involved with the preparation that you just want to go. I think, well, that I can say for sure. Coming from dinghy sailing, you do some boat work in your boat, but in the end, you just want to be on the water. And with these big boats, it's preparation. You do so much preparation, and you just want to go to the water because it's it feels like you're spending more time on shore preparation, in the preparation than you're doing on the water. So it feels good to go to the water.
And what would you prefer?
If that answers your question.
What would you prefer?
But I don't know what makes people do it over and over again, But I don't know, it's something that happens, because when you finish the race, you're like, oh my God, what an achievement, but I for sure don't want to do another one. And then time goes by and, you do other things. And then you're like, what if maybe, yeah.
Well, what would you do then in between legs to prepare yourself? And I mean, practically, you step on board the boat, we see you all coming down on the parade, and you're in your team kit, you step on board this boat, and then you're going to go offshore for 4 weeks. You have a little bag with you. I mean, what do you say? Right, if I'm going to take these things, this is how I'm going to look after myself.
You mean what do I take in my bag?
Are you a sweets? Are you a music? Are you a good book? Well, probably not a good book, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think some of the legs was quite useful to having some distraction. Like I had some Brazilian music and some things like some notes that I did over the past years to read, something to entertain myself. But you do really need to save up space because you want to take the most clothes that you can. But of course, you don't want to get a heavy pack, So in the cold legs, you really need to take as much warm gear as you can. In the Southern Ocean, I felt a lot of cold, and I felt like cold a lot of time. And my toes, I got frostbite, and I only felt them quite a few months after the Volvo. I think almost half a year after the Volvo, I started feeling them again.
Wow, how soon into the leg did your toes go numb? How quickly did it happen?
I don't know. I got mocked a lot because I was Brazilian on the boat, and I think the second day I was already wearing all the cold kit that I had, and everybody was like, especially the Nordic, the Dutch and the Danish, Nikolai. He was like, just like a lovely summer day at home. And I was like, what? This can't be summer. Horrible.
How quickly into a leg like that, and all of the legs really in the last edition started with big wind and big waves.
In the Southern Ocean, actually, to be honest, we had good conditions until I think the first 6 days or something like that, and then we had a cold front coming by, and then it got really cold, really bumpy, and really fast. All the time on the tip of your toes. And when you got downstairs, it was really, you had to really be careful not to get injured inside. It was almost more dangerous inside than outside of the boat.
And how quickly did all your clothes, all of them, become soaked, completely wet, and then that was it for forever?
I was always quite careful of wearing, like putting my clothes on and off, not to try to get my socks wet. But the boat is so damp. There's water dripping from the ceiling, from humidity. And it's just like raining inside the boat. When you're sleeping, there's water falling on your face. It's horrible, so humid. And the engine, where we used to put the keel, on the lighter legs, we use it a lot. But on the heavy wind legs, you barely use, the keel because you get more or less stable wind the whole way. Not stable wind, but just strong winds, and you barely use it. So the times where you want to have your boot there drying, it's very small. So yeah, it's just very damp and wet. Yeah.
What was harder, the freezing cold of the Southern Ocean, or the hot, sticky humidity of the doldrums?
It's a hard question, because for the some people, for sure, the hot and sticky was the worst. For me, it's just different. The cold was hard on your body, it was just really hard. But you get quite tired of the heat. Like when it's ongoing for many days, it's just a lot of people starting getting rashes and all kind of skin problems. So it's a bit disgusting. And the cold, it just hurts so much. You go inside when your fingers are defrosting, when you're heating them up, it just it also hurts. So I don't know. It's hard choice. I think I like the action more, so the cold and the strong winds.
Were you pleased with how you behaved when it got that cold? I'm thinking back to some of the small offshores that I've done, and I remember sitting on the side of the boat, looking down and seeing a rope that was in the water, but thinking, I am so cold, I'm a bit seasick, I'm not going to go, I'm just going to pretend that I haven't seen it. Were you able to just always be competitive and always working hard, or were there times where the cold got the better of you?
No, I think the cold makes you want to move, so on these occasions, you do want to move and want to get that rope out of the water. The heat for me, it was harder because of the sun. So sometimes, you didn't want to be in the sun, especially when you're, if it was really light and we needed a crew in the bow, it was really hard to go sit on the bow in the sun. If you're trimming the sails, okay, but if you're sitting on the bow, it was just like, unbearable.
Let's talk about helming the boats. And before I ask you to try and describe what helming a 65 is like, I think it's fairly, it's a fair thing to say that it was unusual to see someone like yourself, who was a first timer, but not only that, a female competitor in the race, and famously, the females have been overlooked for a long time. We've had many good female helms, but just the teams have not been picking them. When you joined Team AkzoNobel, did you say, look, I want to drive? Not all the time, but I'm good at driving. This is what I do on the 49er, and I want to be on the wheel sometimes.
For me, it's a bit hard because I felt like there's a bit of egos going on, and I'm not the person that says I'm a good driver, I want to drive. I feel like I will drive if I deserve it, if I'm good enough to drive. And what happens is that before in the training I didn't get any chance to try, and then halfway through the race, Nico just passed me the steering wheel, and it's like, whoa, I haven't done that before, but yeah, let's go. And it was great fun trying, but I felt like, you want to do that in the best way you can. And I just felt like I didn't have the best conditions because I didn't have any preparation before. But I really like the opportunity, but it's just, you want the best for the team. And, a lot of the young other first-timers did sail and helm. It's just, I think with girls, they have a little bit of a step back, because they don't trust us as much as they trust their buddies, And it's a shame, but it's changing slowly. And I think we're part of this change. And I don't know. I'm not ashamed to say now that I want to helm more, and I want to have this opportunity to show that, I can helm well. It's just a matter of getting more time on the wheel. And I had a really good opportunity. I didn't have much time helming in the race, actually. But I had an opportunity in the Southern Ocean that Nico made my race. I had, a few minutes driving down those waves. And it's just crazy, it's just a small, so narrow, where you have to go, and the room you have to go a little bit up and down. And it just felt incredible, just feeling the boat on your fingers, on your feet, on your face. It's so many different feelings you can use to drive. So yeah, it was incredible.
A lot of people have come from high performance boats like the 49er, and then they've gone on to helm the VO65s, the VO70. I mean, Iker Martinez, a lot of people seem to be going from the 49er. Is there a similarity in terms of the twitch, the style of driving that's required between the 49er and the 49er FX and the VO65?
Yeah, the VO65 is a very fast boat, so the helm is very light, and the boat responds quite a lot with the helm, and you can, in a fast boat, you can feel everything from the boat. If you trim a little bit, you feel the bow loading up. If you trim too much the main, you feel a little bit more the stern. It's very sensible boat, and I think, I don't know, the 49 is also very sensible on the weight, but I think the sails make up for the weight on the 65. I don't know. It's in the way the 49 you can't nosedive, so I think the way you helm and accelerate and stuff, it's quite similar to the VO 65. It's just the light stuff that is very different.
Yeah, and that's when you realize how heavy and sort of overly safe the sails are with this great big cloth going backwards and forwards in the doldrums. I mean,
yeah, it feels a bit slow in the light winds, and it does. The boats from the last race, they were they felt really safe. That was amazing, but they are a little bit overbuilt. When you're in the Southern Ocean, you feel great. You're like, you don't want anything less than this, but when you're sailing in like regular wind, you feel like you want more efficiency.
I really want to respect the fact that you're trying to get your mind in the right place for the Tokyo Games. So I'm not going to ask you too much about that, but just give us an update as to where you are with your preparation, and obviously with the delay to the Olympics. How has that changed? Does it feel good that you have an extra year or not?
I don't know. It just feels like this year didn't exist. Like, it just, I don't know, at least this half of the year, we have been maintaining our training quite regularly. Luckily, we had an agreement with the club, which was closed, and we were using like it was our house, So we kept on training a bit and just making it more fun a little bit to keep the motivation up. And for us, it's not going to change too many things. I think it's going to be a matter of who, now when we come back, who's going to be, on top of the game. And this last month before the Rio Games. And for us, gives a little bit more time to prepare our equipment. And we had a lot of things to test, and I think it's going to be quite good having more time.
Well, finally, then, let me ask you that I'm wondering about something. So there are a lot of good sailors in the world, and there are only a few people that win. And those are the people that we remember. I mean, you yourself, I think you've got 3 second places at World Championships, but that's not what people talk about. What people talk about when they talk to you is the gold medal at Rio, the 2014 World Sailor of the Year, and of course, now you are part of the fastest ocean race team over 24 hours, with Team Axonabel getting the record. Does having something like that, where you know that your name and your achievement is recorded in time, there it is, when people talk about the games, it will be your name that they talk about. Does that matter to you?
Yeah, of course. I think winning is good for any athlete's ego, but I think how you perform is more concerning. So if you're performing really well, but you didn't get a gold medal, for silver at the Worlds, it's just, you were performing well. You want to perform your best, and be able to get a good result with that. It's very frustrating when you start Olympic campaigning and you only get like 20s, 25ths, and that's the hardest part, because you come from probably a dingy career, or somewhere where you were already on top of it, and then you're back at the bottom. So it's a really hard thing in the Olympics. But winning is always good for the ego.
And as you yourself, I think, alluded to when I spoke to you before, it's pretty good around the dinner table as well, because your father was the fastest back then, the Volvo. He had the record, the 24-hour record. You've taken it from him. You have that record now with the rest of Team Axel Nobel. His birthday was last week. I know what I would do in that situation. Do you find the time to remind him that you're faster than him now, according to the record books?
No.
No?
No. We just had a good time. We had a little sail in his cruising yacht, and we enjoy a lot cruising in family. And I tease him only once, and that was it. He has a lot of my respect. I can't take that out of him. He's a really incredible leader, in everything that he does, not only in sailing as well as with his social project and, taking, he's commodore of the club, and, all these things that he does, and he always does it with perfection, and he's always thinking about everybody else. And I think that's a great thing in a leader. Yeah.
All right. Well, Martine, I know that you are in Europe now for a good reason, to carry on your quest for a good performance in Tokyo. So I will let you get back to it. Thank you very much for talking to me today.
Thank you very much, and hope to see you soon.